Hello, everyone. I'm Lauren Nagel. I'm VP of Product here at StackHawk. We'll just give it a couple more minutes to see who all joins. Got a couple people. We won't wait too long because it is kind of a casual office hours. It's not a formal webinar, but we do have a demo to start. All right, I'll go ahead and start with introductions. We've got a couple people. So as I said, my name is Lauren Nagel. I am VP of Product here at StackHawk, and this is a new format we're trying out. It's going to be monthly. We're calling this StackHawk Office Hours. And what we'll do each month is have a theme and have our essays do a demo or have some engineers on to do some demos, and then really open it up for you all to ask questions, have some live working time with our essays and engineers. So today we're lucky to have two of our amazing solutions architects. So Kevin Michael will be leading our demo today. And then we also have Eric Potter on. So you may have worked with them if you've asked for support before or during your POV. And today our theme is going to be just around really getting started, creating an app and getting it scanning in CI/CD, which is one of the very first things you have to do when you get started with StackHawk. So we thought that would be a great place to start with our office hours. And then if you all do have questions, if you want to put them in the Q&A, and actually because this is not a formal webinar, we will promote you to panelist, and you could actually just have a conversation with the essays and we can work live on your problems. You don't have to just type everything in the Q&A column, but just raise your hand or type a question and we'll promote you to a panelist. You do not have to turn on your video. That is optional. And we also, just so everyone knows, have Nicole Jones on. She is one of our product marketing managers here at StackHawk. She'll help with all of our moderation. So with that, I think, Kevin, if you want to go ahead and kick it off.
Cool. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes, we can.
Cool. All right, let's jump into it. So for today's agenda, we're going to create an application in StackHawk. We're going to create our StackHawk YAML inside of our GitHub repo. We're going to secure our API key, and then we're going to create an actions workflow. That's the GitHub Actions. And then we're going to view those scan results. And finally, we're going to end it by adding the StackHawk GitHub integration. And then we will add a few extra tags that will enable us to see comments inside of our PRs within GitHub. So with that, let's jump into it. Let's get started. So first things first, let's just make an app real quick. For this one, we're going to do just example.com to show everyone how this works. Our environment will be dev. Our host is where it lives. And then finally, we're going to invite friends because scanning is more fun with friends. So we will invite Eric Potter at stackhawk.com. And then we will click next. Application type. StackHawk has graciously given us some predetermined type of application we might have. So if we have API, static, even dynamic single page applications. So today we're just going to do a static site, and don't worry, we can support other things, and then we can always change this YAML later if we don't get it right the first time. So let's click next. We're going to print out a YAML for you, right? So we can just copy this YAML, and we're going to bring this over to our GitHub repository. So let's copy this. Let's click finish, and we'll come over to our GitHub repo now. I already have one, but you would come here, let's say add file, create new file, and we'll go ahead and paste that in here. So we're going to give this a name, and we're just going to say StackHawk.yaml, and go ahead and commit that to your repository. This is mine. I already have it, so I'm going to discard it. And now you'll have your own StackHawk YAML. And that is how you add a YAML to your repository. Very, very simple, very straightforward. So let's move on to the next part. Let's add your API key. So let's hop back over to StackHawk platform. In the bottom left-hand corner, you'll have a little icon. Click on settings, go to API keys, and click on create new API key. I already have a few here. You can create a new one, or you can give it a name here, GitHub. You'll copy this, come over to your GitHub repository, go into settings, go down to secrets and variables, actions, new repository secret. So here, the name does matter because we're going to be using this at a different time later on. So we'll have to give this a specific name. Today it's Hawk API key, and then you'll paste that API key in here. So go ahead and add that secret. So that's done. Next step, let's add the actions portion so that we know when we want to trigger the Hawk scan. So let's do a new workflow. We'll come down to simple workflow, configure. And now we have a new GitHub workflow we need to set up. So I'm going to come back over here to StackHawk. I'm going to click on the integrations panel. I'm going to go to GitHub Actions. And then we have a bunch of information here that you can use. I'm going to scroll down. I'm doing this the simple way. I'm going to copy and paste everything. So let's copy this from the Hawk scan YAML. Control C, Control V. That's all you need to do this. So let's change this from blank to, actually, no, we want to keep that one. I'm going to cancel these changes. We will go back to actions. We will do a new workflow. We will configure a new workflow. Leave this. This is going to be a Hawk scan. All right. Go ahead and commit this. Commit that change to your repository. And now you will have a handy dandy GitHub workflow that you just created. Now let's click into it and look at that YAML a little bit closer so we know what's happening. So in yours, you'll have push and pull from this example. However, GitHub Actions has so much stuff that you can do. I'm going to show you just how much stuff. If you look here, look how little this scroll bar is. This is all GitHub Actions stuff that you can do. So if you want to become a power user, I recommend you come in here and take a look at all these things. For today's example, we're going to be playing mostly with the push and the pull request. But scheduling is also something that you might want to use. So I've included that as an example. So for this example, let's comment out.
Hey, Kevin, real fast, can you
Yeah.
increase the font on your browser by any chance?
Oh yeah, is it a little bit
Easier for
small?
everybody to read. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
small.
I can
Thank
try to do
you.
that. Let me stop share for a second and then try to increase it. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah, give me 1 sec.
Luis and Svetlana are there any questions so far with the demo? Have you all been able to do all of this so far? Have you created anything with the GitHub workflows? You can just type in if you have into the chat. It's a little bit better. Thanks, Kevin.
Better?
Yeah.
All right, let's hold on, let me hide these
Mm.
meeting controls again. All right, so where was I? All right, so we're now going to look at this. We are inside of our HawkScan workflow, and we're looking at the different actions you can take inside the workflow. So we have here a push and a pull request. We're going to comment out the pull request for now, and let's leave just the push. So when we commit this, and I want to just talk about what that means from a GitHub action standpoint. So if I'm pushing my code as the action on push, I will run a Hawk scan. That is the gist of what we are doing here with this particular workflow. So when we commit this, we are in fact pushing code to this repository. So we would hope to see something happen since we are fulfilling that that need. So as we can see here, we do in fact have a scan in progress, which means that is now functioning as intended. So our scan kicks off. We can see here everything is happening the way we want it to. That's good. So that's all set up. So we are pretty much done with our GitHub integration. I think we did that in under 10 minutes. So let's move on to the bonus round. Let's add the GitHub integration, and then let's add some tags so that we can see those PR comments. Real quick, why don't we just look at the example, the example.com findings real quick. I think this is almost done. We can just wait for it. So I will just view it from here, I think. I love how it prints it so many times. I can't keep up. All right, run Hawk scan. Let's view it on the platform. So here we can jump out to the platform after a scan has occurred by clicking those links. We can jump into a finding. And here, if you've used the platform before, you're pretty familiar with this page, but if not, this is where you will remediate findings. You'll come in here and we're going to give you a bunch of information on particular findings, and then you can scroll down and there's all kinds of good information here on how to remediate it. We have cheat sheets here. We have the request that we sent with the headers and the response we sent. We also have our validate button that makes it super easy for you to copy and replay this attack from your terminal. So a lot of good stuff in the platform for you to come out and take advantage of. So why don't we move on to the PR discussion? So I'll go back to my code and show you what we need to do to add that. So we're going to need a few lines of code, and that should be it. So let's look over here in the doc, StackHawk docs. Let's type in PR check. And right here, we have this pull request check. In here, we'll need some information. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. You'll notice here, another GitHub Actions YAML. So we'll go back to our code. We'll click into our YAML. So all we need from this particular YAML, since we already have most of this information already here, all we need is this last little bit of code. So we'll copy this. We'll copy this and we'll paste this over here into our workflow YAML. So go ahead and commit that. Go back to code. And now we're going to tell our StackHawk YAML what it needs in order to take advantage of those magic GitHub variables. So let's go into our StackHawk YAML. At the bottom of yours, go ahead and paste in these few lines. That should be that. And then finally, as a last step, after you've committed those two pieces of code, you will want to add your integration to StackHawk. So come over here to our integrations panel, scroll down a little bit, and you'll see the integrations GitHub. Click in here. And then all you'll want to do is go through the steps here to add your GitHub account. It's pretty straightforward. It's going to ask for an email and a password. It'll take you out to GitHub. You'll log in. It's very straightforward. And that is all you need to do to add the PR comments. So I don't have any open pull requests right now. I have a few closed ones. We can just look at a closed one real quick to show you what these comments look like. So after you run a scan, you'll come down and you'll see StackHawk bot left a comment, and this is inside your PR. And this is just another way that we're giving you information on how to view your results inside the platform. So you can just click here and it will take you right out to the platform. Again, the same way we looked at it earlier, only this is inside of your PRs. So let's real quick just talk about how we got our PRs, our PR to leave this. We have inside of our code, let's look at our action real quick. Our Hogstack YAML. So remember we talked about there are different methods for how GitHub Actions will trigger workflows. We had it set to push. So we can go ahead and change this to pull requests, which means every time we open a PR, instead of on pushes, we are now going to trigger a scan. So we can go back and take a look at what that might look like. To test that, we would want to go to our PR branch, make a small change here. We'll commit that change. We'll go to our PRs and we'll do a new pull request. We're going to compare our main branch to our PR branch where we made that change, create this pull request. And with any luck, we should have some checks happening. Nice, we got some checks happening. All right, so hog scan on pull request queued. That means our scans are now happening whenever we do PRs. So that's all I have for today, I think. Let me check my notepad. Yeah. All right, so we've got our PRs working. We've got our GitHub integration. That's the bonus round done. Does anyone have any questions or want to go over this in any more detail? I will go back and show you my PR comments. Let's see. Just waiting for this to finish.
While Kevin's waiting for that to finish, Svetlana, you said that you guys are in GitLab, and Louise, I think you guys can talk to, can we enable Louise?
Yeah, I just enabled you all to talk, so
Awesome.
your video won't be on, but if you want to, you can unmute, and if you have any questions, you can just talk instead of having to type.
Svetlana, have you guys successfully implemented some scanning automation in GitLab?
I'm actually working on that right now. I did have a question with regard to managing scans in different environments.
Yeah.
Specifically with the StackHawk YAML. So as one of the keywords that you're populating obviously is environment, and I was looking at ways to do so dynamically, as it seems like there is a requirement for that YAML to be named a specific way. So with the tactic that I've been using is just using YQ to create a copy of the StackHawk file and then modify those particular keywords. But do you have any like prescriptive guidance or anything around that so that we can manage different environments through a single CI job?
Yeah, every one of those parameters in the StackHawk YAML can be abstracted as an environment variable and populated at runtime.
Sure.
So are you looking for something more than that?
Yeah, I didn't know if sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question. I think that more or less answers my question. I didn't know if there was any like a more efficient way of doing that other than populating that particular YAML right at runtime. And if I wanted to be able to enable our developers to also run StackHawk locally, as well as through PRs. But it seems like you've answered my question.
Well, so the environment parameter specifically is kind of doubly dynamic, because if you stick a string in there that doesn't already exist in the platform will auto generate a new test environment based on that string that you provided.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
for instance, if you want your devs to all use like a specific naming scheme to say like, hey, this is dev 1's test environment and this is dev 2's test environment, they really just have to dynamically, set that in the in the config or populate it with an environment variable, and it will auto create in the platform if it doesn't already exist.
Okay, yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
And we're also working on a feature that will allow you to kind of keep configs collected in a centralized location, where you can have like them in a more templated type of fashion, or even break them out into different YAML layers, and then point the scanner at a URL where your configs live. That's coming. Lauren's the VP of product. She can tell us more about that. It's kind of vaporware at the moment, but we are working on it.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that.
Eric and Lauren, you might be able to answer this, but it sounds like maybe some of the scaling content that we just did, the webinar that talks about environment variables and overlays, could be helpful for this. I could send over some of those resources for you to check out and see if those are helpful at all.
Yeah, it seems like a great idea.
I was going to say the same thing. I do think that the overlays might be helpful for you, Svetlana, and we did just have a great webinar about using that. We can send you the docs as well. And then, yeah, so what Eric described isn't totally vaporware at this moment. We do have like a first element of that where you just be able to kind of pull in a URL to call in the CLI. So if your devs are running it locally, they could pull in different URLs for the different YAML files. So that might be helpful. That'll be coming out in a few weeks.
Thank you. I had another question if nobody else does, if that's okay.
Louise,
Yeah, go for it. Louise, if you want some airtime, just speak up, buddy. We're happy to talk about pretty much anything StackHawk. Yeah, Svetlana, go ahead.
Thanks. So we are also using Auth0 for our authentication tool, and it looks like y'all have two kind of main options for like the authentication flow, client credential flow, and the resource owner password flow. And I'm not totally sure of our implementation on the application side, but it looks like we require a JOT token. Do you have recommendations for which one to use? I'm not sure if this is more of an Auth0 question or a StackHawk question, but it sounds to me like resource owner password flow might be the way to go if we need a JOT, unless client credential offers that as is that an option with client credential?
Yeah, both of those by default will return a JOT.
Okay.
And so Auth0 and any OAuth provider is going to have several different auth flows. Those are the two that we have sort of pre-canned templated scripts for, because they're the two most automation, machine-to-machine friendly authentication flows. So client credentials particularly is probably the best and most secure one to use for machine-to-machine communication like this, but it will return a JOT by default, and that's what you would expect to get out of that script, is a HTTP message that has a JOT in the JSON payload.
Perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you.
For sure.
Fantastic. Good question, Svetlana. And also, of course, anytime if you all have questions and we are not hosting office hours, then please also, you can reach out to us via email at support@stackhawk.com. We have the in-app chat, which someone's always on to help out. And then we also are able to set up Slack channels. So I don't know if you all have Slack channels yet, but we're available via that as well.
Yeah,
enterprise.
which customers are you guys with?
I'm with Mantium, so we do have a Slack channel set up with y'all.
Okay, cool. I think, Louise, are you from HLab then?
Louise is still muted. That's okay.
That's okay. We've got a Slack with HLab as well. So if you guys are not on those channels, and you want to be, we can definitely add you if you're going to be involved in the StackHawking over at Mantium and HLab.
StackHawking is a verb. I like it.
That's right.
All right.
What's the next month's office hours going to be covering?
Next month's office hours, the baseline demo is going to be about authentication. So we'll talk briefly about some of the default auth options, and we'll get a little bit into scripting too, is the plan.
Yeah, and that will be July 26th. So we're going to do these monthly. So you'll see reminders in emails, and we'll have reminders in the app as well, and those banners that you can see, and so you can register for those. Svetlana, you can come back and tell us your success stories.
Absolutely. We'd love to start creating a bit of a community where we can facilitate, dev to dev conversations about how to solve these problems.
And if you have questions that don't happen to be on that month's topic or theme, definitely still encourage everyone to pop in, like even if you drop in like a couple minutes in, really, I think we'll have time for the next couple segments to really work through any questions that anybody wants to just kind of have a one-to-one conversation about and work through.
Yeah. All right. Well, Louise, last call if you have any questions. Otherwise, we'll let everybody go and look forward to seeing everybody in just over a month. Oh,
Someone spoke up.
Dogs have questions. All right. Well, before my dogs start to bark, we'll let everybody go. Thank you, Louise and Svetlana. Hopefully this was helpful. We will also be sending out the recording. So if this is helpful for anybody else in your organization, please feel free to share as new users come on board. If they want a quick start for using StackHawk in GitHub, or it's very similar in GitLab. This is also a great asset for them. So hopefully we'll talk to everybody on Slack.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yep. Thanks,
Thank
team.
you.
Great day,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye-bye.